In the previous video, I talked about the first pizza franchise in the United States, Shakey's Pizza Parlor, and the many imitators across the West Coast that were opening. The pizza parlors became so popular, it sparked a Dixieland jazz revival in the California area in the late 50s, and it was a revival large enough that when Disneyland decided to expand their park in Anaheim in the late 50s, the chosen theme was New Orleans Square, which of course included ragtime music and a piano player. Shakey's Pizza Parlor and the many imitators became a place to gather and socialize for the community. Kids' softball and football teams would celebrate winning a big game or console themselves after a major loss. The kids could have soda and pizza and watch the silent movies being played on the walls or listen to the music, and the parents could enjoy a beer. Teenagers started to come and gather and socialize, and now up until the 50s, if you wanted to play live music and you couldn't fill a community hall or a stadium, you played in a bar or a honky-tonk. In the 50s, coffee houses started to open across the U.S., and that provided the first opportunities for fledgling artists to play for a small crowd. Now, with the folk boom of the 60s, these coffee houses became hugely popular, and if you were a singer-songwriter or a duo, these small coffee houses were perfect to hone your craft and get used to playing in front of a crowd. But if you were a big band, say a bluegrass band, well, Shakey's Pizza was the place to play. The stage was large, the atmosphere was vibrant, loud, and exciting. Shakey's Pizza owners were happy as the banjo always was associated with the pizza parlor, so it was still present. And for bands, it was a paying gig in front of an audience. It was a win-win situation. Now, as the 60s turned into the 70s, Shakey's Pizza Parlor started to be more associated with bluegrass music more than Dixieland jazz. Shakey's Pizza Parlors weren't limited to the West Coast as well. By 1967, there were 270 Shakey's Pizza Parlors across the U.S. In 1968, Winnipeg opened their first international franchise, and in 1975, Shakey's Pizza had crossed the ocean to the Philippines and Japan. And bluegrass became a cornerstone of Shakey's Pizza. In El Cerrito, Laurie Lewis on fiddle, Kathy Kallick on guitar, Barbara Mendelsohn on banjo, and Paul Shalasky on mandolin got their start playing bluegrass at Red Vest Pizza Parlor. They called their band the Good Old Persons. The Johnson Mountain Boys got one of their first tastes of playing in front of a crowd at the Maryland franchise of Shakey's. For many, Shakey's Pizza was the first time they ever heard live bluegrass. For others, it was the first paying gig that they ever got, playing in front of an audience. And the music wouldn't be contained only to the stage. Teenagers interested in the bluegrass music would flock to their local pizza parlor when live music was on stage. Those that were players, their fingers started to itch. They would head out to the parking lot and pick with friends. Sometimes the band playing on the main stage, players like Buzz Busby, Lamar Greer, and Joe Meadows, they would head out to the parking lot after their set and play with the other musicians that were kind of gathered there, including youngsters. Tom Minty remembers the exact scenario of that outside of Shakey's in Rockville. And sometimes you would end up going there and make new bluegrass friends. Banjo player Allison Brown was jamming at a Shakey's Pizza near her home in La Jolla, California, where she met a 15-year-old fiddle player named Stuart Duncan. The two eventually got good enough to play on stage at Shakey's Pizza, even recorded an album together called Pre-Sequel and toured regionally. Stewart would go on to play with the Nashville Bluegrass Band. Allison Brown played with Alison Krauss and Union Station before striking it out on her own. Oh, and she's also the CEO of Compass Records. Now, when a group of bluegrass music lovers in San Diego decided to form a society to share and promote bluegrass, it was the Straw Hat Pizza Hut on Fletcher Parkway that was chosen for their venue. Pizza and bluegrass went together like pepperoni and cheese, but it wouldn't last forever. Shakey Johnson retired himself in 1967, and the Shakey franchise would go through a number of different owners, and every owner would make changes. Pizza Hut was a chain that opened 4 years after Shakey's in Wichita, Kansas. It was bought by PepsiCo in November 1977. Their model was very different from Shakey's. Pizza parlors started to streamline, make better use of their space. Soon, Shakey's pizza parlors removed their stage because it was more room for patrons. They closed off their kitchen so children couldn't watch their pizza being made in front of them. Pizza was entering the world of fast food, and more pizzas were actually getting delivered rather than people coming and enjoying the entertainment at their pizza parlor. Now, there are still Shakey's pizza parlors in California, though now they number less than 50. It is still a hugely popular franchise in the Philippines, with more than 150 Shakey's pizza parlors still open there. But it's a very different atmosphere than the 1970s, when pizza and banjos ruled the West Coast. If you go to the Oklahoma Banjo Museum, you will find a tribute to Shakey's Pizza Parlor and the role it played in promoting the banjo in the United States. Many bluegrass musicians and fans fondly remember Shakey's Pizza Parlors and their motto, "We serve fun at Shakey's, also pizza."